"Don't touch that car," Richard Cole snapped, his voice cutting through the morning air like a blade as he stepped out of his black S-Class, eyes locking onto the man standing beside it. A few employees slowed their walk across the parking lot, sensing something about to break. The man, Marcus Reed, didn't move, grease-stained hands resting calmly at his sides, his gaze steady, unreadable. Richard let out a sharp laugh, low and dismissive, the kind reserved for people he didn't consider worth a second look. "People like you shouldn't even be near machines like mine," he added, reaching for the door handle. Already turning away, Marcus inhaled once, quiet, controlled, then spoke just loud enough to stop the moment from moving forward. "Sir, if you drive that car right now, you're making a mistake you won't be able to undo." Marcus Reed did not raise his voice, did not step back, did not explain himself twice. He simply stood there in worn work boots, a faded gray jacket hanging loose on his shoulders, the kind of man most people in that lot had already decided they understood before he ever spoke. A few yards away, two junior analysts paused, watching with quiet curiosity, their coffee cups hovering midair as if even they could feel the imbalance in the moment. Marcus had been up since 5 that morning, working through a list of small repair calls across the city, jobs that paid just enough to keep the lights on in his one-bedroom apartment on the south side. What none of them could see was the precision in the way he had already noticed the slight tilt of the front wheel, the faint metallic scent in the air, the subtle signs most people missed entirely. Richard, however, saw none of that. Only a man he had already dismissed. And that was exactly where the mistake began. Richard let out a short, sharp laugh, loud enough for everyone within 20 feet to hear, the kind of laugh that did not ask for permission but demanded agreement. "You hear that?" he said, glancing around as if the moment itself was entertainment. "Now I have roadside advice from a guy who looks like he fixes shopping carts behind gas stations." A few nervous chuckles broke out, hesitant at first, then spreading as people realized no one was going to challenge him. One man in a navy suit smirked openly. Another shook his head and kept walking, choosing comfort over courage. Richard stepped closer to Marcus, not touching him, but close enough to make the distance feel intentional, controlled. "Let me make this simple," he continued, voice lower now, sharper. "You do not tell me what I can or cannot do with what I own." Marcus did not react, did not argue, which somehow made the silence heavier. Behind them, a car door slammed. Someone whispered, and the entire lot seemed to lean into the moment, waiting to see just how far this would go, and whether the man being dismissed would finally disappear like they expected. Richard's expression hardened, the thin line of his smile disappearing as Marcus did not step aside, and that quiet refusal shifted something in the air. "You are still standing here," he said slowly, each word measured, controlled, the kind of tone that carried authority without needing to raise volume. A security guard near the glass entrance straightened, already watching, waiting for a signal. Marcus exhaled once, steady, then gestured lightly toward the front wheel, not dramatic, not defensive, just precise. "There is a pressure imbalance and heat buildup in your brake line," he said, voice calm, technical. "You might not feel it at low speeds, but once you hit over 40 miles per hour, it will not respond the way you expect." A few of the onlookers shifted, the laughter fading into uncertainty, the language unfamiliar but the confidence behind it unmistakable. Richard scoffed, louder this time, reclaiming control of the moment. "Listen to this," he called out, turning slightly toward the small crowd. "Now he is an engineer too." A couple of people forced another laugh, thinner now, less certain. The security guard took a step forward. Marcus did not move, did not argue further, but his eyes stayed on Richard, not challenging, not submissive, just certain. And that certainty, more than anything else, began to feel like pressure building in a place no one there could quite name. Richard's hand paused on the door handle for just a fraction of a second, not enough for most people to notice, but enough to shift something in the air. Marcus did not step closer, did not raise his voice. He simply met Richard's eyes with a calm that did not match the tension around them. "Are you sure you want to do that?" he asked quietly. No challenge, no attitude, just a question that landed heavier than it should have. A breeze moved through the lot, carrying the faint scent of heated metal, subtle, almost invisible. One of the analysts lowered his coffee cup slowly, watching. Richard's jaw tightened, his grip firm again as he pulled the door open with a controlled motion, the moment of hesitation gone as quickly as it came. He slid into the driver's seat without another word, but the silence he left behind did not feel like victory. It felt like something unfinished, something already in motion. The engine came to life with a smooth, expensive hum, the kind that usually signaled precision, control, perfection. But as the car rolled forward, something beneath that sound felt slightly off, almost too subtle to name. Marcus watched without moving, his eyes following the angle of the front wheel, the way it corrected a fraction too late as Richard turned out of the parking space. Most people would not notice that, but Marcus had spent years learning to read machines the way others read expressions. 10 years earlier, he had stood in climate-controlled labs, not parking lots, running diagnostics on systems far more complex than this. Systems where a delay of less than a second could mean failure at 70 miles per hour. But none of that was visible now, not in the worn fabric of his jacket, not in the quiet way he stood alone as the crowd slowly dispersed. A faint squeal brushed the air as the car reached the exit ramp, barely audible, dismissed by anyone not listening for it. One of the analysts frowned slightly, glancing in the direction the car had gone, then shook it off. Marcus lowered his gaze for a moment, not in defeat, but in calculation, replaying the signs he had already seen, the heat, the pressure, the imbalance that would not fix itself, and somewhere beyond the building, beyond the glass and polished floors, a decision that had felt small in the moment was already beginning to unfold into something much harder to stop. 10 minutes later, a call cracked through the stillness of the executive floor, sharp, urgent, not the kind that waited in line. The receptionist's voice faltered as she transferred it, and within seconds, heads began to turn again, not in curiosity this time, but in confusion. Outside, the same black car had come to a stop less than half a mile from the building, not crashed, not destroyed, but frozen in place, angled awkwardly near the curb, as if something inside it had refused to cooperate. Richard stepped out slowly, his expression no longer controlled, his hand still gripping the door as he looked down at the front wheel, at the faint smoke curling upward, at the silence where response should have been. Back in the parking lot, the security guard approached Marcus with a different posture now, less command, more hesitation. "Sir, they are asking for you," he said. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn leather card holder, flipping it open just enough to reveal a faded credential, his name printed cleanly beneath a title that did not match the man they thought they saw. Senior Mechanical Systems Engineer, certified in high-performance brake diagnostics. The guard blinked, the pieces shifting too late, and for the first time that morning, the imbalance in the story corrected itself. By the time Marcus reached the curb, the air had changed, no laughter, no whispers, just the quiet weight of realization settling over everything. Richard stood there, no longer towering, no longer certain, his gaze fixed on the car he trusted more than people, now reduced to silence by a warning he chose to ignore. He looked up at Marcus, searching for something to say, something to recover control, but nothing came. Marcus did not gloat, did not remind him of the words spoken minutes ago. He simply knelt beside the wheel, calm, precise, doing the job he had tried to do from the beginning. And in that moment, the truth landed harder than any argument ever could. Respect is not demanded by status, and the biggest mistake a man can make is thinking he already knows who is beneath him.